Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's a great pleasure to welcome leaders of so many world-class companies around the table today. And, of course, our honoured guest, President Trump, who knows a thing or two about business himself as well.
Because he's a liar and a cheat, and he's got orange hair, and he's an idiot, he's just a liar. Russia, Russia, Russia. Theresa May, who may or may not be there this time next week, welcoming Trump. Last night, of course, he had the big shindig with the old Queen, right? Hanging out with the Queen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you all to rise and drink a toast to President and Mrs. Trump, to the continued friendship between our two nations, and to the health, prosperity, and happiness of the people of the United States.
Yep, and Trump came back, said, hey, ditto. Good for you. Looking good at 93. Just want to tell you that. Looking all right. But it's not about that. Let's be real. In the media, it's not about the trade deals that may go on. And think about this. The Brexit that's happening, once they leave Europe, all of these trade deals are going to have to be negotiated again. And we are a huge, huge part of that. And we need to be a part of that. And with us being not just close allies, we're brothers and sisters for all intents and purposes. We need to make sure that we stand by them, just like they've stood by us. And this is really important. But none of that has anything to do with anything. Because the only thing you're going to hear all day is how much everybody hates Donald Trump.
It's not just about personality, but it's about policies. It's about what he said. And so we're expecting to see in Trafalgar Square, Parliament, outside Big Ben, we're going to see tens, hundreds of thousands of people. We're going to see placards. We're going to see a giant blimp, a giant balloon of President Trump portrayed as a baby with a cell phone in his hand. There's going to be a robot. And, of course, there are concerns that there's going to be trouble.
Producer Phil, he sounded a little drunk, didn't he? Deep fake. Hey, did you know there's going to be a robot? The thing, with all the people protesting, it's going to be a robot. No, yeah, it's going to be awesome. What kind of robot? I don't know. It could be the Terminator for all I know, but it's going to be there. But that's what this is about because it's more entertaining, right? It's more entertaining. How big is the craziness there? That's the one thing. Because, according to the BBC...
And the numbers of protesters and supporters of President Trump haven't been enormous outside Buckingham Palace. It's been mainly tourists. They've been standing about one deep, a few boos, a few claps to welcome him.
Yeah, so at least at this moment in time, it's not big. There will be bigger ones at Trafalgar Square later on today. But it is, it's the usual. And let's remember, like Trump or hate Trump, he's great theater. And that's what television is. It's great theater. How can I give you great theater? How can I get you to pay attention? I'm not going to do anything different, says the TV person, right? You're not tuning in. I'm just a talking head. I have the opportunity to follow somebody who is more interesting. And in that situation, I can build around it conversations and controversy that should, if all goes well, keep you invested in the show and continue to watch it. That's a big if, though.
Well, I think he's been a not very good mayor, from what I understand. He's done a poor job. Crime is up, a lot of problems. I think he should actually focus on his job. It'd be a lot better if he did that. He could straighten out some of the problems that he has and probably some of the problems that he's caused.
Oh, Sadiq Khan, there we go. That's all we need to catch. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Because around this administration, of which a lot of it is self-inflicted, he enjoys the controversy, which I think the media should love. They should thank him every day. Thank you, right? I can't stand you. And then you wake up in the morning, thank God he's still here. Do you think Biden's going to give you this? No. CNN lost another 16%. At this point in time, the only people watching CNN are the parents and the family members of the people who were on CNN. That's it. Nobody else is watching. Nobody. I'm watching Telemundo. Chad. I'm not watching Telemundo. But you need this, right? You need the controversy because it keeps people interested. And Trump will give you that. Whether it's a trip to the UK, hanging out with the Queen, all of these things are here. He makes great theater for television, and in the TV business, if it bleeds, it leads, and he bleeds all the time, and he makes others bleed. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Big doings yesterday, bipartisans doings yesterday that has a much bigger play and a bigger deal in your life if it moves on. But it's the first step of which could be a very interesting step.
The U.S. government is planning an unprecedented and sweeping review of the world's largest tech companies. A source within the tech industry tells CBS News that Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon are the targets of potential antitrust probes. Federal regulators, along with Congress, are trying to determine whether the companies are harming competition and consumers.
Yes, very interesting what's going on there. So they're going to be taking a look at the biggins. We got an antitrust. Is this a monopoly like no other that we have seen, not since potentially the railroads?
That's right. It's so unusual that you'd have the democratically led House and this Republican administration on the same page, both intent on investigating these tech giants. The House Judiciary Committee, this is the same committee that's investigating President Trump, is now going to examine the market dominance of these companies. Does it hurt consumers? Do antitrust statutes need to be updated? This comes as the Justice Department and the FTC are signaling they might open their own probes.
Yes. Now, they're going to break it up, and it'll be interesting. We'll touch on that in a second. But I mean, I think at some point in time, regulation is coming. I don't know if they're going to break them up, but they may break up the investigations, is what a lot of people are saying. I don't know, though, if they're going to force them to break up, but I wouldn't be surprised if regulation's coming. And remember this. Regulation, in many ways, especially when it comes to large corporations and big business, is welcomed in some ways. And part of that is because they know when you come in to regulate somebody the size of Facebook or Amazon, they can take the hit much easier than a smaller business that is just getting out there and trying to take off, that may have to play by the same rules, and it makes it more difficult. So, you know, what they're arguing is they've got too much control over commerce, too much control over information, just too much control, and we may have to break them up and or regulate them.
DOJ would handle Apple and Google, while the Federal Trade Commission looks into Facebook and Amazon. Google, Facebook, and Amazon all declined to comment. Silicon Valley has been the target of bipartisan ire since 2016, really, over its handling of election interference, plus these data and privacy breaches. One top Democrat, David Cicilline, raises the point that the antitrust statutes that are in place right now were developed during the century-old railroad monopolies, and he said it's a very different economy now. He says the Judiciary Committee is going to initiate this investigation by holding hearings and conducting depositions by subpoena if necessary.
Yeah, and nobody, you know, Apple and Google, they're not talking. Yeah, we're not. We know that they're looking at us, but we don't want to talk about it at this moment in time. So we got nothing there. But they understand what's coming. They understand. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg and them understand what's coming. I mean, last week, you know, Zuckerberg and them are arguing, not Zuckerberg himself, but his attorneys are arguing there is no privacy. The minute you share something, the minute you put something out there, you've essentially forfeited your privacy, period, case closed, end of story. Now, while I'm sharing a portion of my life, the problem is you're taking a portion of my life as a reason to look at everything in my life. And that's the issue that some people have when it comes to privacy. Other people have issues over the fact that they are so big and that these arbitrary rules when it comes to freedom of speech and things of that nature, it's going to be a battle. I don't think they should break them up. What I do think, though, at some point in time, they're going to start treating them like telecom. And I'm more apt to think that, say, Amazon and Google may be broken up more than, say, Apple and Facebook. But you never know. You never know. But it's coming. It is. They're looking at them, and this is bipartisan because they're hearing from all sides of the aisle in their constituents, and they're frustrated. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Oh, my goodness. 30 years ago. 30 years ago. I remember what I was doing, watching it watching the man standing there in front of the tank. It was just a surreal scene.
An estimated 30,000 Chinese army troops were sent into the capital to crush what the government called a small band of hooligans and gangsters. Counter-revolutionaries, the government called them, who were attempting to overthrow the communist regime that has ruled this country for the past 40 years.
Yeah, it's 100 years of communism. That was 30 years ago. So they've had 70 years in China of communism. And they changed in some ways. They haven't changed in other ways. And the ways they've gone about changing are... They saw what was going on with the Soviet Union. They saw the failure of the Soviet Union. And they saw what was happening with the Soviet Union and how it was struggling. And they looked over there and said, well, we can't do that. Nixon opened it up. They continued to grow. And when you are going out and you are suppressing people, if you suppress them fully, eventually, and you're not going to brainwash them. You can't suppress them now and hope they're going to be North Korea. It's just not going to happen because they've had some freedoms. And that freedom is economic freedom to a certain extent. And that economic freedom will take your mind over all of the other things that they're doing and taking away from you. I still think in the end, capitalism and the free market will eventually be their undoing. Is it going to be anytime soon? I don't know. But if things go south and you take away economic freedom and you have all of their other freedoms that have been locked away for them never to see again, it could get ugly. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us, text the program. Love it. Check out the Instagram as well, at Chad Benson Show. And you can do the Facebook as well, the Chad Benson Show. Wounded Paw. I had several people over the last couple of days say, hey, what's that company you're working with again, with the dogs and the vets? And I said, it's Wounded Paw. And what they are is this amazing organization. The guy who founded this organization, who came back, he had struggled, he had been wounded, and it was a dog that really gave him so much hope. And that's when he put together this incredible program. And 20 veterans a day die of suicide. And how many thousands of animals and dogs are being put to sleep today? What they do is they unite our furry friends with our nation's heroes, as they say. They go in, they find dogs that are going to be euthanized. They train them and teach them to be service dogs, and they get them to veterans, first responders, and their families. But they need your help. They absolutely do. Now, you can donate your car, your RV, your boat, whatever you have, your truck. You're going to get a tax-deductible gift right there. Boom. Thank you so very much. But on top of that, even if you don't have one of those but you want to give, you can go to woundedpaw.org. Check out everything they do. That's woundedpaw.org, or call them at 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729. Anything you can do for them is incredible. They appreciate it. You are saving a paw. You are saving a life. 844-678-4729 or woundedpaw.org. It's the Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
And when he sees what a dumb movie is made in terms of dealing with both the border, the American economy, and with any kind of trade agreement he might try to get.
So we have two problems, the Democrats in Washington and the Mexican government. We need to address both.
Nobody's going to win in this trade stupidity. I'm not for it. I'm completely against it. Trump doesn't have a lot of support for it. That's the reality of it. There isn't a lot of support. Mitch McConnell.
Well, there is not much support in my conference for tariffs, that's for sure.
No, there's not. No support. It's silly. But when you feel you've got to be, throwing up a Hail Mary because nothing is getting done when it comes to immigration, and you feel like you're running out of ideas, and you've made this the bedrock of all that became your run-up until the election and the election, and there is no wall, although you overcame a big hurdle yesterday with the judge saying, yeah, we can allow you to take money from other places, even though the Dems sued. But that's got a long way to go before we get anywhere. I mean, there's just so many things that I get why you're frustrated. There's other things we could be doing. At some point in time, when you just go, you know what, I give up, guys. I tried. Nobody wants to deal with this. They both are playing you guys for fools. Enjoy the flood of people that are coming here. Enjoy it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. I don't know if you saw this, producer Phil, or you saw this, producer Anthony, but our good friend Tracy Morgan bought a brand new car today. He spent $2 million on it. It is a Bugatti. It is incredible. It is beautiful. It is amazing. He crashed it within 60 minutes. That's not right. Yeah. Apparently, he bought a new Bugatti. He drove to, this is so Tracy Morgan. He drove to the dealership in his Honda SUV. Or something. And then he got a $2 million, by the way, is what a Bugatti cost. Looks amazing. And then somebody crashed into it. And I don't care how much insurance you think you have, right? If it's your fault and you're driving the little Honda thingy-mabobber there, you don't have enough. You do not have enough. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from each and every one of you. By the way, Jeopardy last night crushed it.
What a game. Oh, my God.
It was a game a lot of people watched. Monday's show in which 32-time champ James Holzhauer finally lost after setting record after record, saw the highest overnight ratings of his streak. Pretty much the same ratings as the NBA Finals. Not bad for a quiz show. And that's even with a clip of the final minute of the show being leaked on Sunday. Jeopardy producers say the leak is being investigated and the leaker will be dealt with.
We played it yesterday, remember? We played that. We had that of him losing. And people are still trying to figure out how he lost. And it was all analytics. He played the numbers, and that's how he got to the point where he had won $2+ million. But at the same time, the numbers said play this, and he lost. Right? He lost. It is what it is. He's happy. I'm sure he'll be in the Major League Baseball front office sooner rather than later. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Citing his failure to intervene, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement says former Broward County Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson has been arrested on 7 counts of neglect of a child, 3 counts of culpable negligence, and 1 count of perjury. It comes following a 15-month investigation, which law enforcement says found that Peterson, quote, refused to investigate the source of gunshots, retreated from the shooting, and directed other first responders to stay away from the building. Peterson had previously said he did not know where the shots were coming from.
Oh, so that guy, did you think when you took that job, it's a cake job, I walk around, and just kind of hang out with high school kids and make sure that, break up a few fights every now and then and look for some weed. And then somebody goes and kills a bunch of people and you wuss out, right? You wuss out. Because that's what happened. He was the Broward of the county. Oh, look at the way I did there. Like coward of the county? Never mind. So now he's facing some serious charges and his ass is in trouble. As it should be. As it should be. Damn Skippy. And your name's Scott Peterson, which is it's an awful name. And if your name's Scott Peterson, you should probably be in jail like the other Scott Peterson. Chad, that's not very nice. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So Trump is over in the old UK there. And he's, of course, hanging out. Prince Charles throwing a big dinner tonight, doing his thing, as he tends to do when he goes places. There's lots of people out there that are, angry at him, can't stand him, blah, 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 blah. But trade is a big part of why he's there, right? Trade is a huge, huge part why Trump is there. Because for just a quick understanding, Brexit's happening. Maybe, potentially, not quite sure. It goes one way, it goes another way. Well, while all of this is supposed to be taking place, they have to go and start to renegotiate deals because they're no longer part of the, yes, kids, they're no longer part of the European Union. So they're going to have to renegotiate deals with France, with everybody else, including us. And it's very interesting. It's one of the things that's on the docket of the trade talk.
The key thing was this issue of a trade deal and the president weighing in saying that the NHS would be on the table. The NHS is the National Health Service. In other words, when Brits get ill, they go to the hospital, they don't get a bill. And having lived in America, I know that healthcare is an expensive business. This is the real crown jewels for many Brits. And for the president to say that that would be on the table in any trade negotiation, that Britain desperately needs a trade deal with the United States, I think for many people here, that will be the key takeaway.
Which is very, very interesting. And Jeremy Corbyn, who's the Labour leader. So you've got Labour, which is the Democrats. You've got the Tories, which is the GOP. He was out at Trafalgar Square, big, giant, supposedly this massive. The news made it sound like every human being who's in Europe had come to Trafalgar Square to protest, which turned out to be, in some ways, very fake news. But he talked about it. He wanted to meet with Trump, by the way. And Trump said, nah, I'm going to pass because he may be prime minister sooner rather than later. So you better figure out a way how to compartmentalize. You might think he's a jerk and he may think you're a jerk, but you're going to have to work together with us being such close allies. But he even talked about this.
We're in the midst of a debate about the future of our relationship between Britain and Europe and the rest of the world. It should not be a debate about how we go forward with no deal at the same time as offering up our precious, wonderful National Health Service to private American companies to come in and take it over.
Yeah, it's very interesting because Trump is, this is what you do with trade. You go over, you negotiate trade. And your whole thing is, hey, you've got a marketplace that we have in America, but we don't have any American companies in your marketplace. And we'd love to get some American companies in there. And private insurance is something you're allowed to have over there, and it's gained some strength throughout other parts of Europe, by the way. The social safety net of the Danish and Nordic countries has seen a rise in popularity in private insurance because some people want that extra care, and they're willing to pay for it. But I can get why they'd be scared, right? They see us battle over insurance on a day-to-day basis and battle over the cost of healthcare on a day-to-day basis and allowing the likes of these big insurance companies in. I wouldn't be thrilled at either. But it is interesting that he brought that up. Hey, we've got a marketplace that you guys have right here that's completely untouched. And he can scream, Jeremy Corbyn, oh, great American, these horrible Americans coming over with their insurance companies, blah, 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 for our great American national health insurance. I had NHS when I lived over there. It's awful. Some things it was okay, right? But it wasn't, they could, look, both sides have their positives and negatives. I'm not going to say that their system is the worst system in the world, because it's not. In many ways, you know what I always try to tell people? Our system is 70% great and 30% awful. Their system is 70% great and 30% awful. We differ at the things that we want, right? If you're sick and you're dying of cancer, you want to be here. If you break your arm, you want to be there. There's a lot of things. Again, it's not all bad. It's not all good. We just differ in the things that we think are important. And we here value our individuality in many ways above everything else. And we don't want the one-size-fits-all government approach. But they're getting away from it more and more, too, because they see the pressure on their services that is there. And when you give it away, if you will, even though it costs money, when you give it away, you find out that people take and take and take, and that you're getting less and less and less. And it gets frustrating. And when there's only one pie that you can bite, and everybody gets a bite of that pie, rather than say, hey, we'll let everybody buy what kind of pie they want to buy. What happens? Less and less and less and less. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. This is, I don't even know how to explain this, but I want people to understand that the wokeness of the uber progressive social justice warriors and the craziness of this politically correct world, they're at times a dog chasing their tail. And when they bite that tail eventually, if they have the chance, they're just going to eat their own, if you will. So here's a guy. His name is Craig Brooks. He is black. He is gay. And he has been insulted by a white woman who apparently was having a very bad day, right? With zero excuse. Listen to what she has to say. And the way that he handled it, I thought was brilliant.
That, but you called me
my mother died.
I understand that, but you called me a
I'm sorry.
You weren't sorry when you said it on the phone.
Listen, there was people screaming
but at the end of the day, in the climate that we live in today's society,
I was sorry.
I understand that, but it's above me now.
So he's the front desk guy at a hotel, and she is upset. Her mother died. Her whole family's there, and she called him the F word and the N word. It was on the phone. And he essentially escalated we've escalated this, you know how they do on the phone. We've escalated this, and he's handled it brilliantly.
I need a room tonight.
Well, there's the Best Western next door.
No, please, let me hear. My daughter's here.
I'm sorry, but, I mean, I was on the phone when you said it.
I said, I'm sorry. Please, I've had a horrible day
And I had a horrible time when hearing that.
He won't let me in.
It's above me. She called me a
Sir, my grandma just died.
I understand that, but it's above me.
Please let me.
It's above me. Sorry.
I got my
the Best
card.
Western is next door.
Sir, the rest of our family
I understand that, but it's above me.
Please. I apologize.
She said what she said.
Yeah, and he handled it very well. He wasn't a jerk. And he took all the pressure off by saying, look, you know what? I understand you had a bad day. What you said was wrong. That was awful. You know, it's now above me. And you can go next door. Right? I think he did it great. Great job. He was hailed as, oh, my God, look at the way he handled this racism and all of these things. Hold on a second. We live in a world where you need to be woke all the time. And that includes yesterday, last month, last year, and beyond. You see, Craig, who is black and gay in the intersectionality of the world, he is, I mean, he's up there. Except for he has said some things about the trans community, and now he's being destroyed for it. Now he's being destroyed. Because this is what happens when you're not so woke all the time, 24/7. He said, I don't support Donald Trump, but I do support his stance on the trans community in the military. And you're like, oh, you know, it's like you're going through some of this stuff. And I'm waiting for, and they're like, he's a transphobe. Like, that's all they're doing is attacking him. Now they're coming after him, right? So here was a guy who was being attacked and called all kinds of horrific names. And now he's paying the price because we can't just go, you know, he handled himself. He acquitted himself very well in that situation. And instead now it's, let's find out what he's done. Let's out him. Let's make sure, and not out him literally, let's make sure that we go after everything that this guy is, right? He said in 2017, I don't think trans people should be a part of the LGB community because trans people don't identify as gay people. How dare you have something that is a different thought process? He then said today, he's like, you dug up all of that? And then he said, you know, and he had cry emojis, and he goes, did I lie, though? And he's kind of doubled down on this stuff because people are coming after him. And here's something I want to say. Now, I want people to understand this, and this is why we can't have conversations in this world. Because you have a different opinion on something, and you may think marriage is between a man or a woman, or whatever it is, right, that you want strong borders and people to come here the right way, It doesn't make you anti-gay. It doesn't make you anti-immigrant. You have a differing of opinion. But we don't allow people to have different opinions anymore. It is either groupthink or no-think. That's what it is. Groupthink or no-think. Keep your mouth shut. He has a different opinion about the trans community. Didn't say I hate the community. Didn't say I want them banished forever. He didn't say that. He just said, I don't think they should be part of the LGB community because they don't identify as gay. Maybe some do. But I understand what he was trying to say. You're not anti, right? If you want a strong border, you're not anti-immigrant. You could just say, look, I'm pro-immigration the right way. Not anti-immigrant. I want them to come here to succeed, but what's wrong with them doing it right? If I say, hey, marriage between a man and a woman, I'm not anti-gay. I'm pro my thought, but you do you, but I'm just giving you my opinion. Doesn't make me hate you. Whatever that opinion is. I don't care. I'm just throwing opinions out there of what, people get called all the time. And that's what we do because it's the easiest way in the world to shut somebody down in a conversation is to call them a racist, a homophobe, a trans, whatever you want to call them. It's the easiest thing to do is shut them down, and it ends the conversation. That's why we can't have nice things. That's why we can't have real discussions because people aren't actually interested in real discussions and can honestly say to themselves, I can see your point of view. I can disagree with your point of view. But I can see your point of view. We can't do that anymore. We can't part as friends and say, look, I can respect your point of view. I may not agree with it. But instead, it's, nope, you're this. That's it. Over. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. So summertime is here. You're looking around. You're like, man, I got to start putting some money away. What am I going to do? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm glad you asked, kids. Lightstream. Average credit card interest rates, 19%. You might as well go down the street, ask Fat Tony for a loan, right? Now it's going to come in a bag and cash, and you got to pay him back. But, the vig is running, if you will. But it's like that with a lot of these credit cards. That's where Lightstream comes in. Lightstream offers credit card consolidations loan from as low as 5.95% APR with autopay, lower than the average credit card rate by about 15%. Absolutely no fees. You can even get your money as early as the same day you apply. That's what's great about Lightstream. They're going to treat you absolutely amazing. Now, for my listeners, you get a special interest rate discount. The only way to get this, though, is to go to lightstream.com/Benson. That's lightstream.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% autopay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
Welcome back, Punky Brewster.
Maybe the world is blind.
A revival's in the works of the 80s sitcom about a young girl raised by a somewhat stuffy single foster parent.
We really missed you.
We certainly did.
Original star Soleil Moon Frye would play a now grown-up version of Punky, a single mom of 3. No word on who else from the original cast would be back. George Gaines, Punky's foster dad on the show, Henry Warnemont, died 3 years ago, and Punky's ever-present golden retriever.
Come on, Brandon!
Well, he'd be 35. No network attached yet to the Punky revival.
Oh, Punky. Have you seen Soleil Moon Frye? Right? She was a mess for a while. Oh, man. Let's see what she takes a look. What does Soleil Moon Frye look like? Hello! Chad! Hello, Punky. Wouldn't it be great? Okay, so they bring Punky Brewster back. She's a single mom of 3. She's an exotic dancer, Phil. That's what she is. Hello, Punky.
Keeping it real.
You're the worst. You're the worst person ever. You're the worst. Such a jerk. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Elizabeth Warren.
Dream big. Woo! Fight hard. And let's win.
Who agrees that was awful? Raise your hand. Everybody? Chad, that is a sexist thing. No, that felt very Howard Deany right there. Let's win. Such a jerk. I'm excited about Punky Brewster. Maybe it'll be on Cinemax. Chad, you're a jerk. And they get her kids into college. No. Oh, Punky. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I love hearing from you kids. Oh, Punky. Oh, Punky. Oh, Punky. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement saying there can be no excuse for his complete inaction and no question that his inaction cost lives. Fred Guttenberg, who lost his daughter Jamie in the shooting, tweeting, "Rot in hell, Scott Peterson. You could have saved some of the 17. You could have saved my daughter. You did not, and then you lied about it, and you deserve the misery coming your way."
So Scott Peterson, not the one that killed Lacey Peterson in Stockton, California. Scott Peterson on the other side of the country, who on that fateful day, on Valentine's Day last year, who the school resource officer, the guy with the gun, there to protect, hides. Killer goes on campus in Parkland, starts killing, and says, "I don't know where this gunfires came from, so I just hid in the bushes." No. This is your job. You failed at your job. This wasn't a situation where I asked for no pickles. This was a situation where people died because you're inept, and you're surprised?
He was taken into custody on a $102,000 bond. If convicted on all charges, he's looking at more than 96 years in prison. One of his attorneys saying he is surprised by these criminal charges.
I can't believe that they charged me with this because I just didn't do my job. Oh, God. Yeah. You're going to get what you get here. You're going to get what you get here. Awful situation. It was. And nobody wants to be in that situation. The kids looking down the barrel of a gun of a former classmate that's pissed off and angry at the world and wants revenge for whatever reason. Or you, the guy with the gun that's supposed to be there to protect. You didn't want to be there to protect. Nobody does. I don't care that you were scared. I don't care. Who wouldn't be scared? You know who's really scared? Those kids that were getting shot with no chance to fight back. And where were you? I was in the bushes. I thought maybe the gunfire was coming from the bushes. It wasn't. 96 years, a lot of time. Surprised by it. You were interviewed on numerous occasions. You didn't think at any moment in time that maybe this was a possibility? Ugh. Shows exactly what you're dealing with right there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Trump today hanging out in London. As you know, He's in London, protesting going on because that's what happens.
They were out there outraged by what they see as his sexism. They accuse him of being racist. They don't like his policies on the environment. There's some very strong opinions held, certainly here in London, which tends to be a little more of a liberal city. But you know what? We just saw the motorcade go by earlier. People are taking photos. Some people are waving. It wasn't an angry environment. People don't like the president and they don't like the policies, but that is just a specific number of people here in London.
Yeah, there you go. So, and they were saying most of the people that didn't like the president and the policies that were there today, a good portion of them happened to be tourists. What? Yeah, they were tourists. Oh, no, what? Yeah. Yeah, they were tourists. And you know, it's always a spectacle. And Trump gives as good as he gets. He once again went after Sadiq Khan, the mayor. Says he's doing a horrible job, the usual things that Trump does. And, you know, tonight he's hanging out with Prince Charles, and it's another state dinner and the whole 9 yards. And he's there for trade and to talk about, you know, the things that he thinks he needs to talk about there, because England has a situation, the UK has a situation where they're now leaving. In theory, they voted on it a long time ago, and they're going to exit Europe, hence the reason they call it Brexit, Britain exiting Europe. And they need to sort out trade deals, and getting a deal done with America is vitally important. So we'll see what happens, but it is what it is. At this point in time, everywhere he goes, he's a divisive guy. I'm not going to tell you he's not divisive. He's absolutely divisive at times. And the media plays into it because they enjoy the fact that he's divisive, because it gives them something to talk about. Right? But not all of that dividedness and divisivism is just all based on him. There's a lot that goes on out there. There's a lot the media plays up, and there's a lot that Trump does to himself. You can't talk about that, though. It's either you got to pick one side or the other, because you can't be open-minded enough. Go, nah, both sides play the game. Both sides play the game. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. That there is your Twitter, kid. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. So this is very interesting about taxes. Do you guys remember taxes? Right? Remember the big debate about taxes? Well, the final numbers are in about taxes. Some good news, some bad news. Not all too shocking. Doesn't mean I still think it's a great idea, the way that we went about doing taxes.
So 65% of Americans got a tax cut. I do have to say, though, that for some people that tax cut was only like $40, especially if you were in a lower tax bracket. But essentially, the big headline is that the U.S. government pulled in $93 billion more from individual taxpayers this year, or in 2018, excuse me, than they did in 2017. And that's after the, well, no, but they got a tax cut and they were able to pull in almost $100 billion more. Now, what's interesting here is, and I know we were talking about this last week, corporations paid about $91 billion less. They got a $90 billion tax break. So don't worry, because you and I filled that gap. We were able to pick up that bill for everyone.
Yeah. So here's the thing. What I took away from that is I wasn't a huge fan of the individual tax cut. I was a big fan of the corporate tax cut, in particular, small business. Because small business, we talk about, you know, the Googles and the Walmarts, but small business is the engine that runs this country. And they needed to do something with that. And I was completely fine with that. I didn't care about the 35%. Again, you can raise it to 50 or 100% on the top income earners. They're not going to pay that. They're just not. Well, there's loopholes. So not loopholes. There are things in there that they're allowed to use to their benefit that anybody could use if you found it and you had the things, money-wise and income-wise, to take advantage of them. You want to get rid of them, then go ahead and do that, right? But I also saw 65% paid more. Got more back. 6% paid more. And everybody else, it's everybody benefited a little bit. Corporations benefited more than others. We needed a cheaper, better tax rate to be competitive on the world market, because we had one of the highest corporate tax rates in the globe. And I would have just addressed that as opposed to individual income. Even Steve Bannon said, raise the rates on the rich. But we still brought in more money and we still spent more. That's the thing. That's the other thing I take away. Wait a minute. We brought in more money on a tax cut and we spent more money. God.
Actually, some people are saying, listen, I got a tax break. Business is booming. But anecdotal evidence is not empirical data.
So what about when we go to file 2019's taxes? Will the story be any different?
Right. So the Tax Policy Center, they actually have done analysis on the TCJ. That's a new tax law. Essentially, the number of people that paid more in tax, it was about 6% in 2018. That number is going to increase each year until 2025. Up to 9% of people are going to be paying more. And we also have this new tax law, Tax Cuts 2.0, essentially, that is just languishing right now in Congress. So we're going to be able to see if there's more tax breaks are yanked away from everyone after 2025.
And we'll see. Again, you don't run on, hey, well, I'm going to raise your taxes. That's not good. Now you can run on, I'm going to tax the rich. You can do those kind of things because that sells well in this day and age. And again, the rich scream, the reality is this is the way I would do it. It's a flat tax. It's simple. Right? Certain tax brackets you get to, every dollar after that is taxed at a certain rate. There is no super duper loopholes and write-offs. You can write off certain expenses, but only to a certain level, and we can go from there and make it so much simpler, so much easier to file. Take away the confusion. Right? The rich right now, though, I mean, you can say, look, I'm going to tax you guys at 50% over $1 million. And they'll be like, okay. Oh, that really pisses me off. And then they're like, I really don't care because my tax guy will handle that or my tax gal will handle that. And money will go here and there and I'll end up paying an effective rate of like 17.5% anyways. So we'll go from there. The corporate thing I liked. The individual rates, I think we could do better of. And if you're serious, like everything else, if we're really serious, whether it's immigration or taxes, in dealing with things, then what we're going to do is we're going to look at this in the big picture and say, all right, you've got, all kinds of different tax codes, and we're going to simplify it. We're going to eliminate a lot of stuff that people take a cut on, and they use it to their benefit, and it is legal now, but we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to raise the tax rates. We're going to keep them at a smaller level. Let them take less deductions, and we'll take more money in. It'll be simpler for them, easier for other people to understand, and there won't be a sense of everybody's gaming the system but me, which is what people want. People who are middle class don't want you to raise taxes on the wealthy. They want to figure out how they can benefit like the wealthy do. They want that equality in that kind of situation. Nobody goes, I want all this. I want to pay a lot more. Or I want to, no, everybody's looking for an opportunity. That's what they want. Just make it simpler across the board. Take away less deductions. Let the corporate rate be down near the 20 level where it's at, and we'll go from there. So much easier. But nobody is just serious about doing stuff, right? Just like immigration. Nobody's serious about, hey, let's get rid of the amnesty laws the way they are. Let's make it easier to apply for amnesty, but to stay in other countries first and foremost, and you apply there, give more people opportunities to come here. But let's stop the things that we're doing now, because nobody's ever serious. It's all in the game that's being played, not in the actual solving the problems. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Okay. Antitrust. We're going to talk about that. Very interesting what the government's looking to do. And one of the bigwigs in the world that the bullseye is on from the government on both sides, bipartisan, spoke out today. We'll touch on that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
Bill is clearly amnesty, and it's amnesty for a large chunk of people, whether we do the math at 2 million or 2.2 or 2.7 million or whatever that number might be north of that. But whenever we've had amnesty in this country, it's always been a lot more than was calculated. And I recall those days back in 1986 when Ronald Reagan let me down. He only did it twice in 8 years, but this was a time. And I watched the debate in the House and the Senate on whether to grant amnesty to roughly 1 million people. And all along, I believed that the wisdom of the House and Senate would prevail, and they would understand that amnesty destroys the rule of law.
Steve King right there, Rep. Iowa. So today they passed a bill, H.R. 6. And what it does, the bill cancels and prohibits removal proceedings against certain aliens and provides such aliens with a path towards permanent resident status. And you can go into it. They passed it. It will never be taken up in the Senate because Mitch McConnell he doesn't even take up stuff from his own party in the Senate because you have to wake him up. But I don't know how many people. Steve King's talked about it because I've read 3 or 4 things where it's 2.2 million, 2.4, 2.6 million people. And this would essentially replace what was then the DREAM Act. Because if you ask Dreamers about DACA, they don't want DACA. They want the DREAM Act passed. DACA was a temporary stopgap measure. They want the DREAM Act passed. And Obama and the Democrats had an opportunity, and they went they took their big guns and they said, nope, we're going to do health care. And they realized, this could cost us in the midterms. And it did. And it cost them for a decade almost. So they weren't doing two. Just like the Republicans, they said, we're going to do taxes. It's like, okay. It's interesting. But nothing's going to happen. It's not going anywhere. But, they passed it today. So Tim Cook, right now, you've got both the Republicans and Democrats looking at antitrust, taking monopolies up, doing investigations on Amazon, on Google, on Facebook, and on Apple. He sat down with CBS today to talk about it. He's the only one that's talking about the fact that yesterday they started to say, we need to take a look at all of these. Do we need to regulate them or even break them up?
And is looking into big tech, essentially whether companies like Facebook, Google, and Apple are too big. Is Apple too big?
No, I don't think so. I think that with size, I think scrutiny is fair. I think we should be scrutinized. But if you look at our any kind of measure about is Apple a monopoly or not, I don't think anybody reasonable is going to come to the conclusion that Apple's a monopoly. Our share is much more modest. We don't have a dominant position in any market. Our share of smartphones in the U.S. is typically in the high 30s or so, mid 30s. On PCs, it's lower than that. And so on and so forth. And so
you're saying you're not a monopoly?
We are not a monopoly.
So, and that's interesting. But I think what they're looking at is the fact that you have your own system and you're a captive to that system. And I think that's one of the things they're looking at when it comes to Apple. They talked about the fact that, look, more people have Androids than they do, iPhones. But how much of the market share do you have? That's the question they're going to ask. And, I think Google and Facebook have a bigger worry than even Amazon, even though it's a behemoth. But I think Apple and Amazon are going to be looked at much differently than Google and Facebook, because I think they'll look at Google and Facebook and say, do we need to regulate them like utilities, or do we need to break them up? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can also text the program at 323-538-CHAD, or you can check us out on the old Instagram as well. It is the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
his administration continues to assault people of color, the LGBT community, veterans, immigrants. I'm here to show them that actually stand up for yourself. I'm standing up for you. We're all allies together.
Everybody, we're all standing. It's all standing up time, and everybody's standing up. That right there, a protester in London. Labor leader Jeremy Corbyn, who is leading the big protest today in Trafalgar Square, was speaking. And now, here's the thing. Trump he said at one time, as this, he's over there in the UK, he's doing all this stuff. They've got a big thing going on with Brexit. Just a quick breakdown here, right? There's a little chat playing for you. So essentially, Theresa May, they can call their elections kind of, all right, we're going to have an election. And it's not like us, where it's like every 4 years, this is when it is. Boom. So we're going to have an election, and this is when the election is. And at times, your party can even vote out your leader and replace them. So they have an election coming up because Theresa May's essentially said, I can't do this. I'm going to step away. There are a few different people that Trump even talked about today who may be in line to take over should they win. One of them is Boris.
So I know Boris. I like him. I've liked him for a long time. I think he'd do a very good job. I know Jeremy. I think he'd do a very good job. I don't know Michael, but would he do a good job, Jeremy? Tell me.
But now the other Jeremy is the labor leader, Jeremy Corbyn, who is trying to upset everything. And he's out of Trafalgar Square, who apparently he wanted to meet with Trump. And Trump said, yeah, I don't think so.
In welcoming visitors from the United States, I hope there can be a conversation. I am absolutely not refusing to meet anybody. I want to be able to have that dialogue to bring about the better and more peaceful world that we all want to live in.
Yeah, and then he goes on and he does what everybody else does, talks about Sadiq Khan, who's the mayor of London, and, the usual stuff. But Trump said, no, I don't want to meet with you. All the while this is going on, Jeremy Corbyn, who is the guy who's essentially the Democrat. So Labor's are the Democrat, Tories are the GOP. And former prime minister today is in Israel. And the former Prime Minister of England's in Israel, Tony Blair, he said Jeremy Corbyn, he doesn't understand it, but he's complete anti-Semite. So he can talk about Trump being an anti-Semite and a racist and stuff, but the Labour Party in England have a real problem, kind of like the Democrat Party do, of anti-Semitism. And they don't want to believe it, but it's true. So lots of infighting, but, Trump's over there, and everywhere he goes, there's going to be craziness. He is, whether you believe it or not, he is divisive, right? And people have a strong emotion to him. They hate him or they love him because they feel like he speaks for them. He gets in other people's faces and gives them a voice that they don't have because they feel like, especially in middle America, flyover states, more rural areas, they feel like they're being left out there and being sold a bill of goods by the New Yorkers and the Californians. And so they get frustrated. And this, he talks their talk. Whether he's a billionaire or not, they kind of like that. He's brash. He's bold. He's not politically correct. He's uncouth. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it backfires. And that's the reality of this with Trump. And going forward, I don't know if it's going to get him a second bite at the apple. At this point in time, I agree with what Mark Cuban said. If it was today.
I mean, there's now and then there's November of 2020. I mean, if the election were held today, I think Trump would win. Right? I don't think that there's somebody that has the momentum or just the value of the incumbency that Trump has.
Yeah. I don't think so either, and the economy's still strong. And, he is, if you're on the other side of the aisle, it's so funny because when you look at polls, well, I don't like how Trump acts. Well, that doesn't mean you don't like the job he's doing. You just don't like how he acts. I can compartmentalize some of the stuff I like, right? Some of it I don't like. Some of it's ridiculous. I don't have to like the person. Well, we would all like to love the person, right? We'd all love to love the person. We'd all like that. but it's not always that way, right? So don't get confused with, well, they don't like his behavior with job approval, right? Because nowadays, because of tribalism, job approval at best is going to be in and around 50, 54, 55% at best, minus a tragedy. It's a nationwide tragedy where the president has to ascend to the point of being the comfort for America. But I don't even know at this point if Donald Trump could be. But he is divisive. And other people are just as divisive as him. They like the divide because it raises money and it's good for them. But who can beat? Look, Biden, obviously clearly in the lead at this point in time. Mark Cuban.
But at the same time, between now and then, I think Joe Biden's got a good chance, and we'll see what happens with any of the field of 97 to see if anybody emerges or if anybody new comes in. I think Biden's capable of beating him, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. I think, look, at this point in time, I don't think anybody's beating him, but we are a long way away. And by the end of this month, I think we will see 5 or 6, including 1 or 2 that will surprise, because we have that first debate, that will surprise enough that they're going to get the opportunity to really start to move forward. You'll have a few hangers on, and then you'll see several other ones just fall away. Who's that going to be? I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you who that's going to be. Who's the surprise? I still think Kamala Harris has a lot to say in this, right? Peter Buttigieg, we'll see. Biden, again, he oddly enough, he's in a lane that is completely unoccupied, that last time was really occupied because everybody else has moved so far left. But do they have what it takes to take down Trump? For all of the negativity that's out there, for all of those things that are out there, when you hear people that go, hey, I'm going to go find somebody like Van Jones did and talk about in Ohio because who voted for Trump.
Trump seemed to come through here and he's speaking change again. And we're always wanting something more. We want something better. And we're hoping he does that.
Are you as hopeful today as you were the last time I saw you?
Well, Van, to be honest with you, things have gotten a little bit worse. The company that I work at, Arconic RMI Titanium in Niles, Ohio, we build the F-35 fighter jet, and we currently, we're 11 months without a contract. But even more importantly, Lordstown General Motors, they've lost 4,000 employees. We're currently about 5,000 jobs down since Trump has taken office.
Yeah, and that's not good. But I ask the question always, how many times did we see the CNNs of the world and other people go out there when it was Obama or anybody else and talk to the coal miners and the other manufacturing people to get there? Because there's a certain narrative that goes along with it, right? There is. They would tout one side, not tout and hammer the other, and it's vice versa now. They're going to hammer this side and they're going to tout the other, that these people are going to be able to do something. I don't know what's going to happen with Trump. I don't, but it's going to be very interesting moving forward. It is. In the way that he handles this and who emerges from this pack, because that will also tell you how Trump can take on somebody. He's got to take Kamala Harris on in a much different way. Peter Buttigieg in a much different way. He could crush Beto. Beto's essentially crushed himself, right? He's got one last Hail Mary. But if he apologizes one more time, oh God, that guy's he's just awful. He had, you know what? He seemed to have a lot going for him, and then he got into this weird world of I need to apologize for everything and continue to apologize rather than own up. That's the one thing about Trump. If you learned anything else, a politician, own it. Own your baggage, own your good and your bad, own it. Because running from it's not going to help you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. It has been 30 years since Tiananmen Square, and it was awful.
They fired automatic weapons into crowds of citizens who, for the most part, could fight back with nothing more than rocks and bottles.
Yeah. 30 years since that. What an awful, I remember it. You know, and our good buddy Jim Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research, he tweeted at me a little while ago and goes, I just remember CNN having to beg China to allow them to stay on TV, right? Because they were going to pull the plug on them on numerous occasions because they didn't want people to see what they were doing.
It is difficult not to use the word massacre to describe what happened.
And that's what it was. It was a massacre. That's what happens with people with guns confront people without guns. A massacre. And that's what took place. 30 years on, Pompeo said the other day, we want you guys to tell us what happened. Open up. And China's like, yeah, whatever. You kiss our ass. You're not going to show you anything. Everybody's fine. That iconic shot of the guy standing over the briefcase in front of the tank. Oh, that guy's great. He's awesome. You're never going to know because they're never going to let you know. You wouldn't find out until years after, even if China failed. It would take years to uncover how bad it really was. The dissidents, the people that are dead, people who are sent away to labor camps. It would take forever for you to find that out. But it shows you, right? When you look at China and what they've done, this is why I always hear people talk about, like, Trump's a fascist, Trump's all of these kind of things, and he's just evil, and you look around the globe, and you're just like, slow your roll, right? The fact that you can say that, the fact that you can go on CNN and just talk about what a horrible human being Trump is, or how bad the United States is, or any of these things, the fact that you could do that shows you what we really are, right? Do you think Pooter's going to allow somebody to go on television all night and just... No, he's not. My God. I think his name is Enes Kanter, plays for the Portland Trailblazers, right? Basketball player for the Portland Trailblazers. They were in the Western Conference Finals. He's Turkish. They've taken away his Turkish citizenship because he's been, to Erdogan, he has been such a huge thorn in his side, even though he lives here, and he has been very critical of him. They wouldn't even show his games on television in Turkey. And Turkey's a huge basketball country. Outside of soccer, it's the sport. That is the reality of what can go on out there, comparatively to Trump said something mean. Ugh, get over yourself. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Check us out on the old Facebook as well. Lightstream, right? You're looking to save some extra money. It's summertime. Here's the thing you can do. You ask anybody who's a financial person, the first thing they're going to tell you to do when you're looking to lighten the load when it comes to saving money, right? They're going to tell you how many credit cards you have. What are you paying interest? You're like, I don't know. Then you go and you find out you're paying 18, 22% interest. Like, sweet mamma jamma. Well, this is where Lightstream comes in. Lightstream is incredible. It'll help you save thousands upon thousands of dollars because they're going to help you lower your interest rate. They're offering credit card consolidations loans from as low as 5.95% APR with auto pay, lower than the average credit card interest rate, which is over 19%, right? So you bought that dinner 6 months ago. You're still paying for that dinner. Absolutely no fees. You can even get your money as soon as the same day you apply. And that's it. Lightstream believes that people with good credit deserve a better loan experience, and that's exactly what they deliver. Now, for my listeners, you can get an additional interest rate discount. All you have to do is go to lightstream.com/Benson, lightstream.com/Benson, lightstream.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% APR auto discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what? The idea that we continue to talk about and go out there and embrace dictators. My good friend Kim Jong-un, who blew his uncle's brains out indirectly, and my good friend. By the way, I love, anyway, I'm not going to say anything negative about the president because he's overseas.
Oh, Biden, let me tell you something right there, right? I understand what he was trying to do, okay? And we've got to take a different approach. Let's be real. The approach of ignoring the dictators hasn't worked because they continue to do horrible stuff. So we got to try some. It may work. It may not work. I've always said that with Trump. It may work. It may not work. Let me tell you what didn't work. Giving them everything they wanted in 1994 and still having them produce nuclear weapons in our face and then ignoring them. That didn't work. But I also love what he did there. I'm not going to say anything bad about the president because he's overseas. That right there. He gets it. He gets it. He gets it. And because I saw people today commenting on this, he was going to say that he was a dictator. Let me tell you what Trump is not. He's not a dictator. He may be a jerk. I will give you that. He more than misguided at times. I'll give you that. He's done some good things, done some bad things, right? He's a human being. He's not a dictator. Do you want to know how I know he's not a dictator? Stephen King just tweeted this. Congratulations, Britain, ! Tonight, you were hosting a state dinner for an American blank hole who can't spell. Do you know what would happen if you did that and you lived in a country where there was a dictator? You wouldn't spell anymore. You wouldn't breathe. You wouldn't see. You wouldn't write books. You wouldn't do anything. You'd disappear. You'd die. Because they would kill you. Because that's what dictators do. It's so amazing. It's just, people are just, look, he's a jerk at times. I'm not going to deny that. The beauty of it is I can be honest about it, and I don't have to hate him. Right? We need both sides. We need people with grandiose ideas and more, with feelings. We need. Some of that stuff is good, and some of the stuff of being a Richard is good as well. Every once in a while, we need somebody who's going to step on somebody's throat. Is this the guy for all of that? No. I don't think it is. People liked Obama. But, I go back to the whole red line thing. I thought that was a big mistake. Really did. Every once in a while, you need a guy that's a little twitchy. You need both. It's the beauty of our country is we have both. And if we could learn to get our heads out of our asses and do the right things, we could really start to do some stuff in this country again. It's not going to be perfect. It isn't. But I think we can get along a lot better and realize that, you know what? We're both the yin and the yang. We got something to offer. Neither side has a monopoly on good or bad ideas. Both have good ideas and both have bad ideas. And I don't have, when it comes to President Trump, and I tell people this, there's things that I sit here and I think, that's ridiculous. I say that. And there's things I think, that's good. The tariffs, bad idea. Bad idea when it comes to Mexico. Good idea when it comes to China. Well, no, Chad, it's not. No, you want it to be one way or another. Everybody's always looking for you to choose a side. How about this? I'm on America's side. I want my president to succeed. You can criticize and you can praise him. Shouldn't be an either or. Doesn't matter who your president is, what's by their name, an R or D. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Check us out on the Instagram as well. That's where the kids are hanging out. Watch out when you get around, they all run away. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
They were out there outraged by what they see as his sexism. They accuse him of being a racist. They don't like his policies on the environment. There's some very strong opinions held, certainly here in London, which tends to be a little more of a liberal city. But you know what? We just saw the motorcade go by earlier. People are taking photos. Some people are waving. It wasn't an angry environment. People don't like the president and they don't like the policies, but that is just a specific number of people here in London.
Yeah, Trump's over there, and it's funny because, just like Trump makes out the crowd to be so massive, I've seen some of the media make these crowds out to be. So Trump's inauguration crowd was the biggest in the history, which we all know is a bunch of crap, right? Look, the least you could do is try to Photoshop something in when you send poor Spicy out there to try to explain something he had no chance to explaining, right? Where on the other side of things, they're making it out to be like pretty much everybody who lives in Europe has come out. And that's just not true. It's just not true. It's not. Now, Here's an interesting thing. All of this stuff is going on over there, right? So we've had the big state dinner, and they're celebrating the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and obviously he comes with a lot of baggage and love, hate, lots of emotion that comes with this. But Britain need a trade deal. They absolutely do, as they try to exit from. So right now, the way the trade works over there is it's the EU, right? You're part of the EU. That's what you're part of. So the UK is part of the European Union. They are Brexiting or exiting that. So they will have to negotiate deals across the board. We have trade deals with the EU. Well, Britain's going to go out on its own. And one thing it needs to do is make sure it secures these trade deals. One of the things they're talking about in the trade deal is very, very interesting.
The key thing was this issue of a trade deal, and the president weighing in saying that the NHS would be on the table. The NHS is the National Health Service. In other words, when Brits get ill, they go to the hospital, they don't get a bill. And having lived in America, I know that healthcare is an expensive business. This is the real crown jewels for many Brits, and for the president to say that that would be on the table in any trade negotiation, that Britain desperately needs a trade deal with the United States, I think for many people here, that will be the key takeaway.
Yeah, and that is going to be very, very interesting. Now, there is a big rally against the president, a resist thing. The labor leader, who is the Democratic leader, Jeremy Corbyn, who is out there. Listen to him go into some of this and then switch to the insurance companies and the NHS.
We're in the midst of a debate about the future of our relationship between Britain and Europe and the rest of the world. It should not be a debate about how we go forward with no deal at the same time as offering up our precious, wonderful National Health Service to private American companies to come in and take it over.
Oh, that is interesting to throw that out there. So you want to do a trade deal? That'd be fantastic. We'd love to get in your market in certain places. Now, there are private insurance companies in Great Britain. When I lived there, I had an NHS card, but I also had private insurance as well because it was just at times easier for me. And I paid for it. I paid for it out of my pocket, and I paid for it in my taxes for my NHS. You get sick and you got something serious, it's great to know that you got health care, right? But at the same time, that health care is only as good as the care itself. You pay a lot of money for it. And you also have a lot of restrictions that come with it. And if you have the opportunity to buy more, which a lot of people have gone and done, but allowing a Blue Cross or Blue Shield, that's an interesting thing. I don't know. I don't think the Brits would like that. I do not think the Brits would like that. Quite frankly, I will warn you, don't allow them in, because what they're going to bring in with loads of administrators who are going to screw things up. But that is interesting that that's what they put on the table. Yeah, what do you think about this? We're interested in, we're going to do a big trade deal with you. Oh, by the way, can we bring some of our insurance companies over here? Just throwing that out there. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I found this to be interesting. For those of you who don't know, Leslie Van Houten was denied for a third time. Third time. The opportunity at parole. Gavin Newsom, governor of California, governor, said, nah. Look, while we appreciate kind of the stuff that you've done and how you've gone over these last, God knows how many decades, 4 decades, whatever it is, 5 decades. Well, we appreciate the steps that you've taken to get to where you are. The reality is you played a huge role in the killing of LaBiancas, and what you did was awful. And it's a very interesting thing. If you don't know the story, obviously Charles Manson, his followers, Tex Watson and Squeaky Fromm and all of them, this cult spawn ranch. And there's a movie coming out this year that is going to be very interesting. It's coming out this summer with it, and it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring DiCaprio and Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie. And it's really about that time, that era, what took place in Hollywood, and at the same time, Charles Manson and what was going on Cielo Drive. And she did an interview with Diane Sawyer back in 1999. And when you listen to her talk about Charlie and stuff, you can almost still feel the fact that guy had a pull on these people like you couldn't believe.
I think that the violence in us is somehow nurtured and brought out and brought forth. You know, it didn't happen overnight. He spent a lot of time taking middle-class girls and remolding them, that he was like Christ and he had the answers, and that I just really needed to go and meet him.
And the weird thing about it, if you've ever followed any of the Manson stuff, these were the hippie loving days, right? Free swinging, having lots of fun, smoking dope, LSD, stuff like that. And these weren't bottom of the barrel heroin addicts. Tex Watson, they were upper middle class, well educated. He got inside of their brains in ways that it is crazy. But she talks about the murder. She talks about a lot of the stuff. She was very open in this.
The minute we walked in the house, it became clear that this was not what I had imagined. You know, before that, it had always been an abstract kind of thing. And when it was the real thing, I was absolutely torn in half. And the sounds of Mr. LaBianca dying came into the bedroom. Horrible, guttural sounds. She started calling out to him and yelling for him. And at that moment, for a brief moment, I realized, you know, these are people that love each other. And then Tex turned me around and handed me the knife, and he said, do something. Because Manson had told him to make sure that all of us got our hands dirty. And I stabbed Mrs. LaBianca in the lower back about 16 times.
Oh, just listening to her. And they said, nah, sorry. You know what? We're going to pass, but thank you for coming. Try again. Thank you for coming, but no thank you. You're going to stay in jail. And, yeah. He still has that hold, even though he's gone. Right? Even though he's gone, still has that, she's never getting out. Nor should she. I think she's almost 70 years old. And, but that era, all of that stuff I was a little young, wasn't even born when all of this stuff took place, but growing up through the whole thing with Charles Manson and then, watching him through his wackiness of the 80s and all of that craziness. And of course, just dying not too long ago. And there was a show, I think on A&E about the fight over claiming his body and, all of this. It's just it's still to this day, there's something about that dude that grips people. And, she is not going anywhere soon.
For 2 weeks, researchers at the University of California, San Francisco watched 113 people who ate protein from 3 different sources: white meat, red meat, and plants. They found concentrations of both total cholesterol and the bad cholesterol, known as LDL and non-HDL. All were higher after people ate either of the meat diets. That wasn't a surprise. What was is that it didn't matter if people ate the white meat or the red meat. Both boosted cholesterol, as did saturated fatty acids. So you might as well get the steak. Actually, what they said was, eat more vegetables.
Nah, get the steak. Get the steak. Yeah, eating vegetables is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with eating vegetables. I tell Jack that all the time, but you've got to be able to. It's everything in life. When we listen to these studies, right? What's the one thing? What is the one thing that is always the big takeaway? Everything in moderation. It's just that simple. Everything in moderation. You don't need 5, 10, 8, 15, 20 steaks a week. You don't. Or hamburgers, right? It's moderation. Have a few eggs. You don't need 50 eggs. Now, except for coffee, because apparently yesterday we can have up to 25 cups of coffee and we're totally fine. But like everything else in life, it's always about moderation.
What a game. Oh, my God.
And it was a game a lot of people watched. Monday's show, in which 32-time champ James Holzhauer finally lost after setting record after record, saw the highest overnight ratings of his streak. Pretty much the same ratings as the NBA Finals. Not bad for a quiz show. And that's even with a clip of the final minute of the show being leaked on Sunday. Jeopardy producers say the leak is being investigated and the leaker will be dealt with.
Ooh, gonna be dealt with. Think about it. They tied the NBA ratings on a quiz show where it got out and people were furious about it yesterday. We played a little bit of it on here yesterday. It tied the NBA ratings, which is insane. But I will tell you this. If you think that's insane, think about this. MSNBC, CNN, Fox right now, if you put all of those ratings together at prime time tonight, would probably not touch that. That's how big that was. Woo, we love our quiz shows. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hey, they asked burglars. Hey, burglars, not the Hamburglar, just regular people who break into the houses. They said, what is your one thing you do? Right? Because if you're going to go ask people things, right? You go to the source. How do you break into houses? They say, we knock. Yeah, we knock on the doors. And if somebody's there, we don't want to do anything because it's not that. We want easy. We don't want hard. That's where Blink comes in. Blink is incredible. This made home security so much easier and better. And right now they've got the Blink XT2 cameras. They detect motion, right? So outdoor, indoor cameras detect motion. What you do is you get alert on your Blink smartphone app, sends you a video clip. And there's a two-way talk feature that lets you talk to who's ever there. So if somebody's dropping off a package, something like that, you're like, hey, you know what? Leave it there. Totally great. If it's the kids, they're like, hey, guys, you know what? Come around the back, whatever. But if it's somebody you don't know, you say, get out of here or I'm calling the police. What? Makes it feel like you're at home. Wire-free, easy to set up. Couple AA batteries, last you up to 2 years. And Blink XT2 cameras start under $100. Here's the other thing. No contracts, no subscriptions. Totally affordable. Thanks to Blink, home security got so much easier. Visit BlinkProtect.com/Benson. That's BlinkProtect.com/Benson. BlinkProtect.com/Benson. Blink cameras are available on Amazon, Best Buy as well. Blink is an Amazon company, and it works with Alexa. Chad Benson Show.
Feel free to punk this punk rocker any time of the day or night. Reach Chad on Twitter at Chad Benson Show and on Instagram at Chad Benson Show. And oh yeah, the Chad Benson Show on Facebook too. Punk that.
We have almost 400 million guns in this country. How do you license them?
If you have to have a license to have a car, it doesn't seem that unreasonable that for deadly weaponry, we would do the same. Now, most Americans are fine with this. Most responsible gun owners, this shouldn't cause any problems for them.
No, I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that. Background check, right? Take a couple classes. I got zero problem with that. But Chad, no, my problem, like a lot of other things, though, is where does it end? Right? Where does it end? We have 400 million guns in this country. We have more guns than people. Think about that for a second. And you think about how many guns commit crimes comparatively to the amount. And how many of them are law-abiding citizens. And we're looking back on what took place last week, and it was awful, it was horrible, and we need to have a conversation in this country, and I'm totally fine with a conversation in this country. My fear, though, like everything else, is the overreach of government. It has nothing to do with whether or not it's about responsibility, this, that, and the other. It's whether or not you can trust your government to do the right thing and not overreach. And as we all know, you can rarely trust them to do any of those things.
How would it work? Would everybody who has a gun in their house call in the ATF and register? How would it work?
Look, I think the most important thing is what we do going forward. So retroactively is going to be tougher, right? I've got a couple antique rifles I brought back from Afghanistan. You couldn't fire them if you tried. I don't know how you go about registering those.
What about a regular guy a person who owns a shotgun? Should they register it?
Well, I think at the point of sale, there should be, again,
but they own them.
I got to register my car.
We own 400 million guns now.
So let's at least get it right going forward.
So the future guns get registered?
Yeah.
But not the ones that we have now. How many like to see that?
We can begin.
I got no problem with common sense. non-overreaching. And there it is. It's the distrust of government. Because as we all know, when you give an inch, they take a yard, and then they take another yard, and then here comes another yard, and the next thing you know, you're like, wait, what? And people that are going to do bad things, we're still, no matter how much you register, there will still be people that do things that you never see coming. And bad people will still do bad things. Doesn't mean we shouldn't look at all options, because damn Skippy, we should. But in saying that, understand why people have a distrust when it comes to the government and the overreaching of it. Just like people, especially women, who have a distrust about government overreaching on their choice. Something to think about. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Do love hearing from you. Talk a little immigration. Should you go to jail for a prank? Wait till you hear this. Should you go to jail for a prank? I did not know it's National Cheese Day. I like cheese. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's like the way you deal with a bully. You know, if you bow down in front of them, you just get kicked harder. I think you need to stand up to him, and you need to say what it is that you think.
That right there is Emily Thornberry. She's the Shadow Secretary of State for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs in England, talking about Trump and what a bully he is, and how did we get to this position?
I think we need to think about, when is it that our country got so scared? Why can't we start saying things as they are?
I would love that. I think we all should. People are like, well, Trump's an a-hole. Yeah, he is. He's awful. He is. Again, he does some good things and does some bad things. He's the president we got, so you got to deal with it, right? Some of the stuff that people talk about with him is ridiculous, and some of it is warranted. I would love to talk about all things. We can't, though. It doesn't matter what side of if we're a woke nation and they're a woke nation and there's all these woke people everywhere, it doesn't matter. You can't talk about anything in real ways. In real ways, because everybody's got an excuse. Everybody's a victim in some way, shape, or form. It's insane. Producer Phil, you just said, who was it? Kirsten Gillibrand?
That's her.
Was that it? Yeah, Kirsten Gillibrand. The reason that she's not doing so well in the polls is because of gender bias. Or maybe it's just you don't resonate. Nope, can't be that. Because we can't have a real conversation. Elizabeth Warren's coming on strong, right? Kamala Harris has been pretty steady. I mean, what is it? It's crazy. No, we can't have a real conversation. Yeah, Trump is a bully at times. He absolutely is. And it's ridiculous. But at times, who isn't a bully in the political world? You don't think the likes of Nadler, if he has a chance to be a bully, wouldn't do it? You don't think the likes of well, not so much Graham, but some others, if they had a chance on the right to be bullies, they wouldn't? Of course they would. That's why they get the bully pulpit, for God's sakes. We need to have conversations in this country. We do. People will say at the time, Chad, you're such a huge supporter of the president. No, I'm not. He's my president. I want him to succeed. I can talk about the fact that I believe as a person, I'm not a huge fan. I don't like some of the things he's done. I don't like some of the things, like when he comes out and says the press are the enemy of the people. They're not the enemy of the people. They're not. The people and their attitudes at times are the enemy of the people. But they're not. But it doesn't mean the press is without sin. And it doesn't mean that everything that Trump does is wrong. But you can't have real conversations because there's nothing in a real conversation. Right? There's nothing in it, especially when it comes to the media, because it's not fun. Having a debate about guns and what we should do with guns, you can have a real conversation about that. You can have a real conversation. Why? Because emotion gets involved, and emotion is where the money's at. If we sat down and said, all right, well, how can we fix this? Just like with immigration. Can't have a real conversation about immigration. Let's sit down and talk about immigration for just a second. Tariffs are out there. We got all of this stuff going on. Let's have a real we can't. Because all you have to say to somebody is you're a xenophobe, right? You hate people of color. You hate the poor. And he's like, I can't win. I can't win. You can have a real conversation. That's why we never say the things we want to say. The one thing about Trump is you kind of know what he's saying, right? Like, this is kind of what he feels. Where with a politician, right, they'll come out to you and you will sit there and applaud them. Oh, this person said exactly what I wanted to hear. And in your mind, you're like, but he's lying or she's lying because that can't happen. Case in point, right? We touched on it the other day. But case in point was the whole Hickenlooper going out, talking to the people of California, right? There he is, right? You got all of these other, you got people who are running for president coming out, telling you the truth and getting booed for it.
But we need, as Democrats, to build an economy that works. But it's got to be with smart policies. Medicare for all may sound good, but it's actually not good policy, nor is it good politics. I'm telling you.
Well, you're screwed. You're an idiot. How dare you say something like that? You're a jerk. Well, it's not, though. Do you want the truth? Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth. Nobody does. Right? Hickenlooper comes out. He says socialism doesn't work and it's not a good thing to run on, and people boo him. Because you don't want the truth, because it's not good. It's not. Nobody wants the truth. That's why we can't have conversations. That's why we can't talk about things. Because you'd rather be lied to in your face to make you feel good, because we have made it so facts are secondary to feelings. And that is not a way to run a country. It's not a way to run a business. That is not a way to run a relationship. It's not a way to run a life. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Trump is in London having fun, talking, doing stuff, doing what he does. It is interesting. He is, of course, fighting with Mayor Sadiq Khan. And this is going to go on. And they've fought over and over. And I'll tell you what, it's a perfect example of using, he says the things he wants to say. And I saw this. So Sadiq Khan comes out. He's the mayor of London. He's the first Muslim mayor of a major city. He writes an op-ed piece before Trump gets there and then goes on television criticizing Trump over and over again. All right? And people applaud him for it. People over here applaud him for it. Trump says something about him, and Trump's a bully. I guess it depends on how you look at things.
I think he should actually focus on his job. It'd be a lot better if he did that. He could straighten out some of the problems that he has and probably some of the problems that he's caused.
The fight that is, right? But it's interesting, and that's why. Trump is interesting. Let's just remember that. Trump is interesting, and because Trump is interesting, we'll focus on the interesting rather than the relevant. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Should you go to jail for a prank, even if it's an asinine prank and it's stupid? And we live in this world of we want to put everything on video because that's what gets you there in a quicker way than ever before. And the more insane, the more absurd that you are, the better it is. And so here's a guy in Spain who played a prank, and albeit low-class prank, awful prank, but does it rise to criminality?
Kangwa Ren posts on YouTube under the name Reset. He performs challenges on his channel and plays the occasional game of Fortnite as well. But on this occasion, he removed the cream from the middle of Oreo cookies, replaced it with toothpaste, and then gave the package to a homeless man. In the video, Reset says, maybe I've gone a bit far, but look at the positive side. This will help him clean his teeth. I think he hasn't cleaned them since he became poor. He is now being charged with a crime against moral integrity and faces 2 years in prison.
Ooh, 2 years in prison is a long time for moral integrity. And I'll admit, it's a horrible thing. It is an absolutely awful thing. I think we can all agree on that. And the fact that you would do something like this is also shows you kind of what a low rent, low class, cheap humor you're going for. And the fact that people would watch this. But 2 years?
But some people think that imprisonment is taking this a bit too far. After all, there are literally thousands of videos online of people pranking friends and family with toothpaste Oreos. Since the incident, Reset has apologized multiple times and even shot a video where he lived on the street for 48 hours in an attempt to help his viewers understand the plight of the homeless. And it doesn't even matter because now prosecutors, they're not backing down.
Yeah, he may get this in one of those things where he may be the message they sent. I still think 2 years is hard. It's like, can you imagine being in jail? It's like, what are you here for? He goes, murder. And what are you here for? Oh, grievous bodily harm. And what are you here for? Oh, I was running, a gambling racket and blah, blah, blah. What are you here for? I gave a homeless guy Oreo cookies with toothpaste in it. And I filmed it. And based on that, you may get thumped on for being a Richard, which you were, and you put it on TV or YouTube. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. So Kanye West sat down with David Letterman, and it was very interesting. By the way, David Letterman, who is not a fan of Trump, but unlike a lot of other people out there, when he talks about Trump supporters, he's not as awful as everybody else out there. Is like everybody who voted for Trump's a racist. He's not. He's not. But they sat down, and it was a very interesting conversation.
I was stunned by in the midterm elections was the aggressive organization and attempt at voter suppression. Now, we're not talking about 1918. We're talking about 2018. And it's still going on and being encouraged. So if I see a person I admire talking about Donald Trump can think whatever he does, I wonder if those thoughts indirectly aren't hurting people who are already being hurt.
Right? So, he has some real conversations. And he's got Kanye on there. Let's be real. Kanye has been at times a little bit of a critic, but mostly a supporter and an outspoken supporter of Trump.
Well, how do you feel for the people that voted for him that are being treated like enemies of America because that's what they felt and they had that opportunity?
Every time there's a presidential election, time for a change, time for a change. It's endemic. It's part of the system. And it's what keeps this democracy in motion. And it's always the argument, what this country needs is a businessman to run it like a business.
Yeah, right? That's what a lot of people said. A lot of people said. He's not finished there. And again, while I'm not a fan of Letterman, the last few years he showed, he's not what Colbert is, and he's not as at times bitter and angry as Colbert does. I think he made some cogent points here, and he really separates himself. But what do you hear what Kanye has to say?
So the people that voted for him, I understand that. But I wondered to myself, are these people ultimately going to be victimized? And I think now the people in good faith looking to get the country to help them a little more than it has by electing a business guy, I think are now being hurt for it. And I would think that would not try it again.
Well, I don't know about that. Again, I think Trump wasn't elected always so much as a business guy, but as a mouthpiece for those people. But Kanye, what do you have to say?
Have you ever been beat up in your high school for wearing the wrong hat?
I just been beat up because people didn't like me.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
The idea is the bullying.
Who's the bully in this scenario?
Well, definitely liberals bully people who are Trump supporters. It's not just calm. You can't just go and wear the hat. You can't just go. It's like, F you. F you. Like, it's like, bro, the thing is, in America, we have rights, and we have rights to open the conversation.
Well, nobody's arguing that there should be an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, but I get what Kanye's saying is you wear the hat. And the conversation is you're a racist, you're a horrible human being because you support the president. And that's an automatic go-to for everybody, and it's easy. Walk out into a crowd anywhere, minus a few places, right? You know, especially on the West Coast, right? You know, the left coast and the East Coast. You walk out there and you say, Trump is a racist, and you wear a hat, you get attacked, and automatically you're all the bad things that Trump is. And once again, to understand, if you want to beat him, you need to understand him, and you need to understand what makes the people who like him tick. And it's not all racism. Did he give voice to some people out there who don't deserve a voice because they're awful in their beliefs? Yes. But for a lot of people out there, he gave voice to people who felt like big city was looking at them saying, you guys are idiots, morons, knuckle draggers. You date your cousins. We know what's best for you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Your teeth are important as you get older. I bet you didn't know they could shift. That is where Candid came in. Absolutely amazing. It's the alternative to braces, and it is so easy. It really is. First of all, they've got licensed orthodontists, right? And they're licensed in your state. They create a treatment plan for you. They even have a 3D printer of what your teeth are going to look like. That's what Candid does for you. Right? Take the experience out there, right? These orthodontists. It's like a lot of other companies don't have that. They have specialists, whatever that means, dental specialists. What they've done is, right, they send you this thing. You do you do this custom creation there, and they give you a 3D preview of what it's going to look like. Then you get your custom clear aligners sent directly to you, right? So there's no hassle of going to the orthodontist office. Here's the other thing. 65% less than braces. Yeah, saving thousands of dollars, straighter teeth. Sometimes, well, usually within 6 months, sometimes within 4 months. What are you waiting for? That smile is so vitally important in today's day. You're going to have brighter teeth with a better smile. That's where Candid comes in. Right now, they're giving my listeners $75 off. How do you get this? You go to candidco.com/Benson. That's candidco.com/Benson. Going to save $75 off right there. candidco.com/Benson. At Chad Benson Show. Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
A romantic dinner gone wrong.
Yeah, we were in shock, so we just hauled tail the other way and watched it happen.
Taylor Fort planned a picnic spread for her fiancé Trevor Walters on Thursday, a special date night before Trevor leaves for the Marines for 10 weeks. Little did they know it would be interrupted by a hungry gator.
He annihilated an entire block of gobbled it down, lickety-split. The salami didn't stand a chance.
Yes. Did not stand a chance. So there's a gator. Gator says, you've got a picnic. I'm not Yogi Bear, but I am hungry, and I want to see what you got over there.
Washed down with half a watermelon and a pound of grapes.
And then the worst part, he goes over, we had this big bowl of guac made. He eats the whole bowl. He put the whole bowl in his mouth and just
But Taylor and Trevor were not going down without a fight.
So I learned this technique back when my childhood to scare away bears. You get up and make yourself big and make loud noises to scare it away. It's called a bear scare.
And apparently it worked.
It really worked, the bear scare.
No, it didn't. He probably saw, what's wrong with this? You're not well. I can't. You're not well. You, sir, craziness. You're not well. You're not well. Just want to let you know that. The bear scare. Most animals, wild, even deadly animals, they don't want anything to do with you, right? That's why Bigfoot hides, because Bigfoot doesn't want anything to do with you.
What alligator will come up and steal food at a picnic like that? It's like Yogi the Bear.
Experts say a gator that has been fed before.
It sounds like that alligator has been fed previously, and he has lost his wariness of people and is beginning to associate people with food.
No fear.
None.
No respect for our picnic.
No, nor should it, based on your stupid bear scare. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. It's a bear scare for an alligator. It's just the wrong thing. Here's your useless fact of the day on this beautiful Tuesday. Cleopatra, queen of the Egyptians, was not even Egyptian. Nope. Many historians believe that she indeed was actually Greek. What? I know, right? Meghan Markle, you got a chance to be Queen of England. You really don't. Have a good rest of your day. As always, night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.